2024 will be etched in our collective memory. It marks the year we crossed a critical threshold. For the first time, our planet was hotter than it had been before the Industrial Revolution. This isn't just another statistic, it's a stark warning sign. Our actions have consequences. For decades, scientists have warned us about climate change. They predicted rising temperatures, extreme weather, and melting ice caps. Now these predictions are our reality. 2024 saw it all, from record-breaking heat waves to devastating floods. The question is, will we heed the warning, or will we continue down a path of destruction? The future of our planet and our species hangs in the balance. This year should serve as a wake-up call. We need to act, and we need to act now. The time for complacency is over. Across the globe, thermometers told a worrying tale in 2024. The average global temperature soared to 1.6 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels. This makes 2024 the hottest year on record, surpassing the previous record set in recent years. Every month from January to December was unusually warm. Heat waves, once rare, became commonplace. Europe experienced its hottest year ever, with temperatures soaring 2.92 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average. The scorching heat wasn't limited to land. Oceans too felt the heat. Sea surface temperatures reached record highs, fueling more intense storms and disrupting marine ecosystems. The implications of this warming trend are far-reaching. It affects our weather patterns, our food security, and our very survival. The heat is on, literally, and we need to find ways to cool down the planet. 2024 was a year of weather extremes. Heat waves were more intense and longer-lasting. Hurricanes like the devastating Helene and Milton grew more powerful, fueled by the warming ocean waters. Flooding, too, became more frequent and severe. Coastal regions, already vulnerable to rising sea levels, faced the brunt of the damage. From California to the Persian Gulf, floodwaters caused widespread destruction. Wildfires raged across the globe, fueled by dry conditions and scorching temperatures. The January 2025 wildfires in Southern California, still fresh in our minds, are a stark reminder of the devastating power of these infernos. These extreme weather events are not isolated incidents. They are a direct consequence of our warming planet. And as temperatures continue to rise, we can expect these events to become even more frequent and severe. Our oceans, once a symbol of vastness and resilience, are now showing visible signs of stress. Sea levels are rising at an alarming rate, threatening coastal communities and ecosystems. The warming waters are also causing coral reefs to bleach and die. These vibrant underwater ecosystems, home to a quarter of all marine species, are facing an existential threat. The polar regions, too, are bearing the brunt of climate change. Sea ice in the Arctic and Antarctic is shrinking at an unprecedented rate. This loss of ice not only threatens polar bears and other wildlife, but also contributes to rising sea levels. The health of our oceans is intimately connected to our own well-being. We rely on the oceans for food, oxygen, and climate regulation. Protecting our oceans is not just an environmental issue, it's a matter of human survival. Section 5. A changing atmosphere, gases and consequences. The air we breathe is changing, and not for the better. The concentration of greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide and methane, continues to rise, trapping heat and warming the planet. In 2024, carbon dioxide levels reached a record high of 422.1 parts per million. This increase is directly linked to human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels. While the increase in carbon dioxide was slightly lower than in previous years, it's still a worrying trend. Methane, another potent greenhouse gas, also reached record levels. This is particularly concerning because methane traps far more heat than carbon dioxide. These changes in our atmosphere are driving global warming and its cascading effects. We are witnessing the consequences of our actions in the form of extreme weather, rising sea levels, and a changing climate. Section 6. The human toll, unequal impacts. While climate change affects us all, its impacts are not felt equally. Vulnerable populations, particularly in developing countries, are bearing the brunt of the crisis. Small island nations face an existential threat from rising sea levels. Droughts and floods are displacing communities and exacerbating food insecurity. Access to clean water and sanitation is becoming increasingly challenging. The irony is that the people who have contributed the least to climate change are the ones suffering the most. They lack the resources to adapt to a changing climate and often face indifference from the developed world. Climate justice demands that we address this inequity. We need to support vulnerable communities and ensure that they have the resources and capacity to adapt to a changing climate. Section 7. The Paris Agreement, a Promise Unkept. The 2015 Paris Agreement was hailed as a landmark achievement in the fight against climate change. It brought together nearly 200 countries with a shared goal: to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, preferably to 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. However, 2024's record temperatures exceeding the 1.5 degrees Celsius target serve as a stark reminder of the gap between ambition and action. Despite the agreement, global greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise. The pledges made by countries under the Paris Agreement are simply not enough to avert catastrophic climate change. We need more ambitious targets, stricter regulations, and a rapid transition to a low-carbon economy. The Paris Agreement, while flawed, remains our best hope for a livable future. We need to strengthen it, not abandon it. The time for procrastination is over. Section 8. Turning the Tide Mitigation Strategies. The urgency of the climate crisis demands immediate and decisive action. We need to rapidly reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and transition to cleaner, renewable sources of energy. Investing in renewable energy such as solar and wind power is crucial. We also need to improve energy efficiency, reduce deforestation, and promote sustainable transportation. Governments have a critical role to play in enacting policies that encourage these changes. This includes phasing out fossil fuel subsidies, investing in public transportation, and implementing carbon pricing mechanisms. But individual actions matter too. By reducing our energy consumption, choosing sustainable products, and advocating for change, we can all contribute to turning the tide against climate change. Section 9. Adapting to our new reality. Even as we strive to mitigate climate change, we must also adapt to the changes that are already happening. This includes building seawalls to protect coastal communities, developing drought-resistant crops, and improving early warning systems for extreme weather events. Adapting to climate change will require significant investments and international cooperation. We need to share knowledge, resources, and technology to help vulnerable communities adapt. Climate change is a global challenge that requires a global response. We need to act together with urgency and determination to protect our planet and ensure a sustainable future for all.